Alright, and welcome to the Kurinnaxx fight. Hey film editors, how about you pause the film here so I can do my long-winded introduction. Okay, what you're looking at here is Abby, one of our two main tanks. That's me sitting in the middle of the screen. Up to the right is Darren, the guy with the big axe shoulders, and to the left is Linnet. Darren is the main tank of our guild. Darren and I are going to be the two main tanks for Kurinnaxx. Linnet is our backup tank and an up-and-coming tank of some talent. The Kurinnaxx fight is pretty simple, right? It's your basic tanks keep them busy, everybody else beats on them, and the healers keep the tank up fight. There's two things that make it kind of exciting and interesting. The first thing is that he's got these sand traps which open up beneath your feet, and there's a little bit of warning. You'll see like a circle widening up in the video, and that tells you that it's time to strafe out or run forward. You can't back out, right? It's not fast enough. You have to side run. The sand traps do a couple thousand points of damage to you. They also silence you, which has the obvious implications for casters. For tanks, it kind of sucks because it means you can't taunt. And the reason that's really important is because of the second nasty thing Kurinnaxx does. The second nasty thing Kurinnaxx does is that he has this mortal wound debuff, which reduces the healing, right? It means that the heals don't hit for as much, which is obviously bad. And that'll stack up to 10 times, and yeah, maybe more than 10 times. I don't know. I haven't tested because you get it up that close, high, and the healers can't heal you. You die horribly, and it's very sad. So because of that, you have to swap off tanks every now and then, right? You start out with one tank, and then when he gets up to 5 or so of these mortal wound debuffs, the other tank taunts, and the other tank holds Kurinnaxx for a while, and by the time the second tank has 5 of the debuffs, the first tank can pull Kurinnaxx back. Of course, that can't happen if you foolishly get caught in a sand trap, which happens to me all the time, and means you can't taunt, so, that means that the current tank sits around and prays that the healers can keep him up and all that good stuff, which our healers usually can because they're pretty darn good. The other trick you can do if you're on Alliance side is you can throw a Blessing of Protection on the current tank. That's an aggro wipe for the person who has the Blessing of Protection on them, so Kurinnaxx will switch to the second highest person on the aggro table, which really ought to be the other tank if you're any good whatsoever. Alright, let's get the movie started again, and let's get right down to business. Alright, so Darren's about to charge in and pull here. There's no real reason to do a hunter pull. It's just as easy for the tank to go in and get the initial aggro. He also has a huge aggro radius, so not a bad idea to not let the hunter do it. They'll usually pull by accident. We tank him right up there on that particular patch of sand just because it's a good light color, and it's easy to see where the sand traps are. You can see in the opening pull, aggro swap to me, aggro swap back to Darren. That's just normal starting pull. Darren locks it down pretty darn quickly. And as I'm panning around, you can see that we spread out in a circle now. Because I'm panning around, I completely missed the sand trap that just hit me. You'll notice if you look to my scrolling combat text on the left of Abby, you can see me just miss, which is pretty terrible. I'm also silenced, right? So I'm not building aggro, and when Darren hits a bunch of mortal debuff, and wham, we just lost aggro. I couldn't taunt because I was silenced. Darren lost aggro because he got hit by a sand trap too, and Victoria's a warlock, so she has very little aggro mitigation. I think she died for our sins, but we did pick him back up. You can see the debuff wore off. I taunted him, and now we're back to tanking him right here. Important thing, you'll notice that people are at his sides and behind him in terms of hurting him. That's a really good idea because the Mortal Wounds debuff comes off of a cleave that hits everything in front of him, right? So you don't want to have both your tanks in front, or they're both going to be sucking down the mortal wounds. Okay, I'm at about, I think, 3 Mortal Wounds debuffs here, something like that, and I'm just pounding away. That's me trying to dodge a sand trap and failing. Pound, pound, pound. That's another sand trap that just popped under me there, and of course I dodged it far too late. And now I'm missing all over the place, but fortunately I'm at just about 5, and yep, take it maxi me, kill the bug, and Darren picks it up. Okay. So at this point the fight is pretty much stabilized. Darren's tanking, I'm tanking, everything's good. You can see that the DPS is smartly standing at his tail. We're spread out in a pretty big circle as far as the casters go, and we just keep on hurting him. On this transition, I'm not actually going to wind up waiting for Darren to tell me to pick him up. Darren and I have tanked together for a long, long time. We're pretty familiar with each other, so when I see that the mortal wound debuff has hit 5, and I can tell if you see that casting bar in the upperish left, there you go, and I grab him. The casting bar is telling me how many mortal wounds there are on Darren. One of those add-ons which make life either easier or cheatier, depending on how you look at it. I could also count the mortal wound debuffs actually on Darren on the target of target, and that would work just as well, so I don't feel too guilty about this add-on. Okay, so, I'm tanking him, I'm wailing away. There's not a thing in this raid that's going to pull him off me at this point, which is a nice feeling. Not that we don't have great... Ooh, there he goes, he enrages. Now, if I was smart, I would have popped shield wall there. I'm not smart. Luckily, our healers are really, really good, although you'll notice that we lost one of our paladins. You probably won't notice, but if you look at the raid bars, you can tell. And that's going to make things a little bit dicey. So Kurinnaxx is enraged, he's red. Tank should pop shield wall at that point. Darren, I see, was getting really low in health, so I went ahead and taunted. The healers, I don't think were quite ready for that, and they're also down to 4 healers, and it wouldn't surprise me if somebody's silenced. Bam, there I go. Darren, however, was next on the aggro list. I don't know if he taunted or not. Yeah, looks like he did. Nope, looks like he didn't actually. So Kurinnaxx swapped back anyway, and there he goes. Not an issue. And that's how we do that.